Welcome back to my garage. There's been a while and I haven't been working out here. I really should have cleaned up out here, but I have been working on something. It's kind of the aftermath after Bonneville. I'll show you what I've been working on. We need to approach this in a better way. Well, seems to be some trouble with Fusion here. Okay, when I'm done doing what I want to do here, we'll go inside and I'll show you what I've been working on my main computer. So this is what I've been working on. It's a complete new engine for the land speed bike. And this time there's no experimental stuff. It's just a normal two-stroke engine with a state-of-the-art porting to the best of my knowledge. This is pretty much a copy of the Aprilia RSA cylinder, RSW or RSA, from the information I could gather on the internet and from mostly from Fritz Over Mars. This is the cylinder, and here's the cylinder ready for casting with added material everywhere. It has really nice water cooling where the water enters here, goes over the transfers and also inside here, enters below the exhaust duct and then loops around, travels over the exhaust floor and into the cavity here, up into the head. And these ports are partially blocked so that the water doesn't just short circuit into here but goes the whole way. The head will be the same as currently on the land speed bike now, because why? It works fine. Why make a new one? The case will also be cast, so everything will be cast by Saleva Tech. You might remember when I visited Jan Scheffer at Long Tuning, we went and visited Saleva Tech and watched them cast a cylinder for him. So they're doing 3D printed molds and casting. Really neat stuff. So they will be casting my cylinders and also the crankcase. So thank you, Saleva Tech. I'll show you something super experimental I've also been working on. Here's something very much unconventional. You might remember a few months ago when I was talking about how I get so much spam emails and also spam phone calls from like automated phone calls from various places and stuff like that. And the reason I'm getting all that stuff is because my personal data, my emails and phone numbers and stuff are being distributed throughout the web by data brokers. And what I was talking about those months ago was Incogni. So this video is sponsored by Incogni. Incogni helps me eliminate this by sending out removal requests to data brokers and removing my personal info from being sold to companies and sold to, or even like sold to bad people on the net. It's not like they just send out a removal request. They continuously send out removal requests. And today I can show you, because now it's been since June, and you can see how there's been sent out 48 removal requests and 37 of them has been completed. There's still 11 in progress, and 15 of the brokers have added my information to a suppression list, which means they'll never collect my information and sell it again. Why does it matter? Well, it's annoying getting all the spam phone calls and the emails. The real danger is not the annoyance of getting spam. The real danger is like bad people collecting enough info on you to be able to use that to pretender you and maybe get your money or in other ways, like use your information to to put you in a bad situation. Head to incogni.com/twostroke. That's number 2 and stroke. And anyone who passes through that link will get 60% off their subscription. Thank you, Incogni. No experimental features, really. Normal rotary valve, normal porting, normal everything engine related. The only tiny little experimental thing is I'm going to show you what I think I will be trying, and hopefully that'll work. It should work and should be a safe way to do things. First, let me show you the parts I will reuse from other projects here. So we're pretty much in the same situation as we were 5 years ago, where we wanted to make something better for the land speed bike. And that something better was the PIP engine, which has been through lots of iterations, but it started out having a resonance intake here without a valve at all, and then a small reed valve here, and a 100% of bore exhaust port, and various other experimental features. Experimental does not work at Bonneville. Well, experimental does work, but you have to confirm the experimental stuff before you go to Bonneville, because there's no testing there, just runs. You get a run and then you'll have to wait a long time before you get another run. All those experimental features in this cylinder were pretty much eliminated throughout the years. And the problem with this now, which this probably would work fine now, except for it's leaking between the sleeve and the casting. So new cylinder, no experimental transfer or exhaust duct features. Just normal stuff, as good as I can get them from my knowledge. New case, mostly because this is such a hack job now with the 3D printed inserts and blocked off injection ports, a rotary valve here, a blocked intake here, a blocked intake there, and the bearing bores are a little worn. The crank will be reused, this crank, because it's a nice beefy crank with a 90mm conrod. So these are the old cranks. The problem with these cranks is there's so little material around the big end pin because of the bevel here and just the webs being so small. So the press fit is, even though you have a good press fit, it will loosen up because there's like the material will stretch. And they get out of true, and then they destroy the big end bearings because they they bend and twist and take up all the slack there. That's my theory anyway. So these will be replaced by the crank in here, which is this crank, 90mm conrod versus the 75 in these. 90mm center to center. I can't show you the cylinders, so these were the replacement cylinders for the cylinders currently on the Landspeed bike. The problem with those cylinders is the cast iron liner, and in combination with the super short conrod, there's so much force on the piston rubbing against the walls because of the acute angle, and this causes lots of wear, and especially when with the cast iron liner, which is kind of soft compared to plating. So these cylinders were plated, and the new cylinder will also be plated. Luckily, the pipe I designed, the new pipe, seems to be working in simulations, seems to be working really well with the new cylinder. And that's not a surprise really, because the timings and the areas are pretty much the same. So this, I can reuse this, might weld up a better one, like simulate and weld a better one. But this seems to be close to the best actually. And that's also not weird, because I spent a lot of time making this a good pipe for the cylinder. Peak power will be sitting at really high RPM, but it really should in a 50cc. There's a new variator on the way, so I won't use this variator. I will use one with the lever style variator like you saw on the Landspeed bike. The exhaust flange, existing exhaust flange, can be reused, will have to be welded up and machined out again to fit the new exhaust port, but this will fit the new cylinder. I haven't really decided yet what carb I'll use. Well, I've pretty much decided, but I'm not sure it'll work. The Speedway carb is nice on alcohol fuel because it can deliver so much fuel. There's no float balls, so there's no foaming. We didn't seem to have trouble with foaming at Bonneville, so maybe that's not a problem in the frame and stuff with all the extra inertia for the engine too. And also the steering damper mounted to the engine mount. This could be nice, but it's kind of experimental, and I will have to make some kind of a pressure equalization system where tank level won't affect fuel pressure in here, because it does with gravity fed into this carb. The Electron carb is nice. It looks really big, because it is, but it's sleeved down to 32 millimeters, and it has a big bowl. There's lots of power jets, and can like easily give enough fuel on methanol and nitromethane, I think, but it's so big. What I think I'm going to, like the pumper carb, I can't show you the pumper carb because it's sitting in the land speed bike, but that's also an option. But the least experimental option is to run this 32mm PWK carb on gas, normal gas, because I know that'll work fine, because that's like, it's normal, not experimental. Run that on gas and then pipe one of these water injection atomizing nozzles into the intake and run a PWM controlled fuel pump feeding straight nitromethane into the crankcase alongside the gas and air mix from the carb. This is very similar to what I was envisioning for the resonance intake on the original PIP engine. But it's not the same, because this time we'll be running just normal gas through a normal carb, conventional setup. And this will be alongside that. In theory it should work perfectly fine, but we'll have to do some testing. I can't do the testing here, because I can't get straight nitromethane. So I'll have to do the testing in America, where there's easy to get straight nitromethane. Might be in Sweden, might be there's easy in Sweden too. And I'm 1 kilometer from the Swedish border. I'm of course not gonna bring any straight nitromethane into Norway, but maybe I could test on the other side of the border. We'll see. So this is experimental, but it's if it doesn't work, it's easy enough to just not do that and run and actually run nitromethane and methanol through this carb, or maybe with a pump, maybe pump through, remove the float, have like one pump feeding into the bowl, one feeding out of it to supply enough fuel. Or maybe this will give enough fuel. The whole thing here is no experimental features except this one thing. And then introduce experimental features one at a time, but probably not in this engine now. Make that run properly, and then and leave it like that, and tune it, and get that record at Bonneville, and then alongside, like, then whilst that is going on, do experimental stuff on other engines, like the brute force engine, like the FOS concept engine, Fritz Overmars's symmetrical scavenging engine, which has been sitting here for over a year now, and really should get some attention. Deserves some attention. This brake disc engine dyno is a really bad idea. It just overheats like immediately, and I can't really, like, the testing I need to do is testing over a long period of time at constant RPM. So what I think we'll have to do, well, first of all, what we have to do is, while waiting for that water brake, there is a water brake coming replacing this. It's just, you can't, like, people have other stuff to do, you know, and can't work on stupid stuff for me when they have other stuff to do. We're going to use the inertia dyno. And I think I'm going to hook the big fat magnetic retarder brake up to the inertia dyno in some way. More inertia, that's a good thing. And also we can use it for steady state testing and simulate Bonneville conditions. Constant RPM for several miles, like 5 kilometers of constant RPM peak power. I think we're gonna reintroduce the speedway or parts of the speedway frame into our testing here, and I'm gonna put a different sprocket on it for a smaller chain. This is a pulley like on the land speed bike. We'll get some linear rails, we mount the engine to linear rails, run the variator, and we can tune the variator and stuff here. Maybe even we can find a way to simulate bone wheel conditions, heat up the room excessively, lower the pressure, something. But yeah, I'm gonna like kind of make a duplicate of the transmission system in the land speed bike for testing on the dyno, because we need to. While we're waiting for that new cylinder and case to be cast, we're gonna continue experimentation with the brute force concept. Now with these 3D printed super sturdy reed valves, see how it behaves with them. I think we're gonna continue testing. Well, actually we might start working on the, well, we're at least going to work on some kind of a frame to put this in, and also so we can replace that with the land speed bike engine, but with that speedway frame what I just talked about, so we can test this engine also on the inertia dyno. That's what we're going. Next video will be, we'll start on that stuff again, and exciting times, really exciting times. See you next time.